Substack.com, and it's everything that you need to know. Frankly, it's one of the few media platforms that's covering Scottsville and beyond, and she does a hell of a job with it. So if you want some questions for Nancy, put them in the feed. Any perspective that you want to share with former mayor of Scottsville, put them in the feed. We have questions that are already coming in. In fact, questions are coming in now for Nancy, your popular lady. Topics we will cover are Dr. Charles Hurt, the developer, and Virginia Land Company, who is proposing 2 residential developments for around Scottsville that could bring a total of 72 houses. You know, from my standpoint, almost much needed.
I'll have some comments on it.
Nancy's going to have some comments on it when we start the program. We will also talk about why she's expanding into Buckingham. We will talk about the question that came in earlier today about the Suttons of Tiger Fuel and their purchase of the shopping center and the new construction of a car wash and the impact that's going to have on Scottsville. So a lot to cover on the show. Give it a like and a share anywhere you're watching live on all social media platforms. Scottsville, we're going to have some fun. In Albemarle County, we're going to have some fun. In Central Virginia, we're going to have some fun today on the I Love CVille show. Judah Wickower, we can rock and roll when you're ready, my friend. Good Friday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille show. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live, of course, in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. It's great to be with you on a chilly and blustery Friday in Central Virginia. But regardless, a beautiful day to be above the mud and alive in God's country, and just a fantastic time to walk the earth. I mean, I like to say this all the time to start the program. Any day you can put some pants on and some clothes on and get out of bed and enjoy this gift we call living is a reason to celebrate. We'll thank some of our fantastic partners for being a part of the show. Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Dr. Wagner has your back. Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine, changing people's lives and really making an impact on people for frankly, 20 plus years. Ting is the crazy fast internet behind the I Love CVille network. IMBS Medical Billing Services. We love Ida Thornton and her team at IMBS. She's amazing. In fact, Ida and her team will join us in early December on the program. And our friends at the Boar's Head Resort have a fantastic event. Judah, if you want to get the URL on screen, if you could please. Judah Wickower is our director. It's called the Winter Wonder, where the Boar's Head Resort lights up, illuminates its grounds for families and friends and couples and date nights and holiday festivities for us to enjoy. I mean, you talk about an Instagram-worthy event, the Winter Wonder at the Boar's Head Resort, undoubtedly that event. We're going to welcome Nancy Gill in T-minus 15 seconds. If you want to ask the star of the James Exchange some questions, or get some perspective from her, please put it in the feed. She's also the former mayor of Scottsville, and frankly, just someone I'd like to pony up to next to at a bar or a brewery and have a cold beverage and shoot the you-know-what and have a good time. Judah Wickower, if we can go to the studio camera. Nancy, welcome back. Your following and rep and influence speak for themselves, and you kindly joined us after a 14-hour jaunt down the eastern seaboard.
Yes, I did.
How did that go? Tell us where you went.
I have been spending time in the Gloucester Rockport area in Massachusetts, helping a very good friend of mine with her 10-year-old, very precocious daughter.
Ooh.
And it's been a welcome change because those who know me know that I have had clients with Home Instead, took care of my own mother and a very close friend, and it's such a pleasure to hang out with someone so youthful and not at the end of life.
Well, I will say this. Nancy Gill embodies youthful spirit, at least every time I've hung out with you on this show. You have that zest for life that I find contagious. I think that zest for life is now being documented in the James Exchange podcast. Put in perspective the podcast and how it's going.
I think it's going really well. I need, of course, more subscribers and listeners, but don't we all?
Sure, of course.
But I really like the way it's almost growing organically, where I started with something very stringent, where I was going to have Monday Matters and Friday Forward. Well, I started looking at that, and it was boring, so I started doing headlines.
You evolved it.
Yes, and once I started with the headlines, all of a sudden people are paying attention. So that was the trick, and I'm trying to be kind of clever and fun with them.
She is, I'm going to straight up say this, she's documenting the news. She is driving the news cycle. And there comes, we do a lot of that here with the I Love CVille show. A lot of responsibility comes with that.
Yes.
Have you you obviously have considered that.
You have to be so careful to get your facts straight.
Right.
And
because if you don't, you know what happens.
Exactly. But what I love about technology is all these meetings that I'm covering are recorded. So I don't make anything up. I just transcribe it, put it in the podcast, and I will have commentary, but I try to keep it fair and unbiased.
That's great. That's great. So one of the topics that's coming in, and frankly, we've got people already watching here. Amber Ellis, welcome to the broadcast. Vanessa Parkhill, hello. Thank you for joining us on the show. So Dr. Hurt, a gentleman well known as a developer and landowner. Dr. Hurt once told me you could not enter Albemarle County or leave Albemarle County without seeing one of the pieces of property that he owns. And Dr. Hurt and his company, Virginia Land Company, are at it again, and this time with two developments totaling potentially 72 houses, one on Bird Street and one on Blenheim Road. I'll get out of the way. Why don't you set the stage for us? What's going on?
Okay, well, I'll put it in a historical context.
Please.
When I came on town council in 2006, the Scottsville Comprehensive Plan called for an increase to 1,000 residents in 10 years. Didn't happen. The Comprehensive Plan still calls for growth of, basically that number, maybe in a shorter time period. I don't know. I haven't read it in a couple of years. But when you look at the homes we have in Scottsville right now, the last census, we have 524 residents living in 300 homes. So to get it to 1,000, do we need 300 more homes? So when you think about the comprehensive plan, what it's calling for, 72 houses or unit developments, I don't think are that great.
It's low.
It's low.
Yeah.
So it's just so many coming at once that it has concerned people.
Why is it met with such resistance?
People don't want...
Is this NIMBYism?
No, it's I don't think so. I think it's just people all of a sudden are realizing the town may grow. And some don't want it in their backyard. They're fine with the village residential, say on Bird Street, of I think 13 homes versus the 48 that have been proposed, which the Planning Commission recommended 36. And that's units, not necessarily single-family homes, but it goes to the cluster development concept. So when you think of taking 20 acres that have been empty and pristine, and people have been able to use them for their own personal purposes, they don't want it dotted with houses.
So let's talk about the comp plan. And it's so funny, the comp plan is like such a focal point right now. City of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Scottsville, comp plan is like the hot topic. So the comp plan called for the town population to jump to 1,000.
Yes.
So essentially 2x.
Yes.
Double.
Yes.
First question, why did it not double?
Basically because the opportunity wasn't there.
Okay.
Even though the land is there, the true opportunity wasn't, except back in 2003, 2004, Dr. Hurt was going to sell the Paulette Tract, which is approximately 230 acres, to a development company called Republic Properties out of Northern Virginia.
Okay.
And people will remember they came in, they were going to build 700 homes. Well, of course, everyone went crazy.
Sure.
And then they came back, I think it was 450, and everybody went crazy. And I actually asked the representative how many they really wanted, and he said 125. So I'm like, that's doable. But out of that, even though it had a negative outcome for Dr. Hurt and the developer did not subsequently purchase the property, so Hurt still owns it, came a planned unit development, a PUD, that the town paid for, and Matt Lawless has dug it up, and I hope that the Planning Commission revisits it because I think it's a good plan. You know, it has to be tweaked a little more than it was back then, but I think it's a good plan.
Why? Okay, first off, and this question's coming in, and this is someone who does not live in the Scottsville area. And Matthew asks, not town manager, regular listener of our show, says, how did Dr. Hurt corner so much land ownership in the area? He just did it over time.
Well, he did it over time. He purchased the Paulette Tract. He owned it when I moved there in '99.
Okay.
So this is not a recent purchase for him. And he purchased the tire factory, and it sits on about 60 acres. I'm going to say this is maybe 2010, kind of in that time frame, 2012, somewhere along there. So he just sees opportunities and he buys the land.
Yeah, right. So, and props to him. I have no problem with somebody scooping up land and buying land. Now, some folks just say he's, land banking and needs to start getting to the table with some hustle and chutzpah of what to do with the land. But from what you can tell, that's happening.
Yes, I believe he really wants to see something happen in Scottsville.
Yeah. What's the mood of residents of this?
I think it's mixed. If you, of course, people will come to public hearings that don't want it, and they're very vocal, but we're not hearing the silent majority. So I'm going to say there are a lot of people in Scottsville that live in the town of Scottsville that want this. In fact, without mentioning names,
sure,
a person who lives in close proximity to the Bird project said, please, I want company. She just wants people there. But her voice isn't being heard because she doesn't come to the meetings.
So how about this question that's come in? Which of the two developments is best suited for Scottsville?
I would say right now the Bird Street development.
How come?
It has close proximity to the downtown area.
Uh-huh.
It has, and of course the downtown area it's all about density. It's a town.
It needs people.
It needs people.
Yeah.
It's the walkability issue. It can bring improvements to the sidewalks and the road in Scottsville. And, I just think it's needed.
Bird Street's, the Bird Street development, give us, you're talking 12 acres of the almost 20-acre parcel, maybe a 48-unit cluster development.
Yes.
We got our friend Eric LaFontaine of Ben Barbecue. He would love to have some people passing by and walking by. Any of the restaurants would. One of our favorite spots, James River Brewery, would. We did a real estate show this morning, and we talked about how the lack of inventory is driving up home prices so much that the area is becoming so unaffordable. It seems to me we almost have to do stuff like this if we're going to make home ownership tangible for people. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts?
I think you're absolutely right. And as you know, people are moving into Buckingham County, just over the river from Scottsville. Why can't we bring them to Scottsville, where they become truly a part of the community network and the economic buildup of that town?
We had a realtor this week say Buckingham is going to turn into one of the most popular places for people to buy homes,
Yeah.
because it's one of the last affordable bastions of housing. And if we had ever thought 15 years ago that someone would have said Buckingham County and popularity with home purchases, 15 years ago we probably would have laughed.
Yeah.
And now it's no doubt reality.
Yeah. It's quiet. People can have a half acre, 2 acres, 10 acres, and they can pretty much do what they want
Yeah.
within reason.
So the James Exchange, her podcast, please follow this, please subscribe, please listen. You've decided to cover Buckingham more.
Yes, well, Northern Buckingham is really a big part of Greater Scottsville.
Absolutely.
And I know so many people that call Scottsville their town.
But live in Buckingham.
That live in Buckingham. And they come to the town and they drive through the town 5 to 7 days a week to go to work north of Scottsville. So obviously what I want to see is more jobs in Scottsville that will make people stop.
What's the likelihood of that happening? Here's a perfect segue into the Suttons.
I believe the Suttons will bring, with the market and the other offerings they have, I think the number is 28 jobs.
It's pretty good.
That is amazing for
Yeah.
Scottsville. That I think they will be the largest
Employer?
employer. I think they will surpass Food Lion.
Okay.
Maybe not. But
What are the top 5 largest employers in Scottsville? Food Lion, let's put the Suttons in there
Yeah.
with Tiger Fuel. And we'll say Tiger Fuel 1, Scottsville, Food Lion 2.
oh goodness, this is tough. The Tavern.
Okay.
I'm
Tavern
with-
on the James.
Yeah, the
They're under
Bateau.
20 employees, though, I'd say.
I think so.
You think Spencer's at 20?
I think he is. He's close.
Okay. So let's put them at 3. Carol Keese, hello, welcome to the show. Help us answer this question, viewers and listeners. What are the top 5 employers in the town of Scottsville? What's the town of Scottsville have on its roster?
Actually, the town is getting there. The town has, let's see, 2, maybe 10 employees now.
Okay. So that's probably in the top 5.
Yeah, and that's counting the police department, DMV Select, and our office.
Sure. That counts.
Yes.
That's top 5. So 28 new jobs from the Suttons is big time. The question came in, we were promoting all week that you were coming on the show, and we had questions come in. And the obvious question was the impact the Suttons and Tiger Fuel would have on Scottsville. How about the impact Tiger Fuel would have on economic development in Scottsville?
I think it's huge. When you think, first and foremost, of the property they've invested in,
Yeah.
they basically own that, with the exception of one parcel, the property that is bounded by 26 James River Road.
That's substantial.
It's substantial.
Yeah.
And I don't know what their plans are beyond the market, the gas stations, the car wash. I don't know what they're planning beyond that. But
But they own the shopping center.
they own the shopping center.
Yeah.
And they also own Lucky's downtown.
Tim, Claudia Carr,
Mm-hmm.
Augusta Co-op, from an employer standpoint.
Oh, that's right. They would. Yes. I don't know how many. I'm just kind of going through faces.
So Augusta, top employers in town of Scottsville, we'll say Tiger Fuel 1, Food Lion 2, Tavern on the James 3,
And then I would go Augusta.
Augusta Co-op 4.
They might, and it might be,
Probably them more than town of Scottsville.
oh, definitely.
Yeah. Town of Scottsville 5?
I think so. And then it becomes 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many employees Danzy has.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm just going up and down, like the bank. Maybe everybody else is coming in between 5 and 10.
Vanessa Parkhill, hello. Lumpkins coming in here.
Yes.
Updates on Lumpkins, people are asking.
Lumpkins, as everyone knows, Hollis has sold it.
Right? It closed.
I believe it has closed.
It has closed, yeah.
And
In fact, I think we may have the listing agent on our Monday show at 10:15 to talk Lumpkins.
Good.
Monday at 10:15.
No, and it's going to remain the same.
I mean, we hope.
I think it will.
You think it will?
Just keep the rooster.
Keep the rooster. Well, I mean, you can't do away with the rooster. The rooster is like the best piece of marketing and branding that is out there in Central Virginia. What were you surprised it took as long as it did?
To sell?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that long. I would say, what, a handful of months?
Yeah. No. I think the right package they had to come up with the right package.
Yeah. Grayson says, what's the best use of the Lumpkins site?
What it is right now.
Yeah. Wouldn't change it?
I wouldn't change it. I mean, their rooms are always booked. Their restaurant's always full. Why change it?
I mean, I agree right there. Why change it? Vanessa, hello. Welcome to the show. We'll get to some of these comments. Back to the Suttons. This has come in saying the Suttons could really drive economic development in Scottsville if they do it the right way with attracting the right tenants to the shopping center. What tenants would you like to see there, Nancy?
I would like to see some kind of medical facility.
Okay. What's the closest one?
Dr. Joyce is downtown. He's just one doctor. And then Central Virginia Health Services has one about 5 miles out on Route 6.
Okay. So a medical facility. What else would you like to see there?
Gosh, what I would really like to see in Scottsville is a Peebles department store.
Okay.
I just think it's got the right mix of everything. When I was mayor, I actually called them and they said...
Yeah, you try to attract them.
I did, and they said they needed 3 things. I remember 2. One, they said you had to be the county seat, so I said we used to be. And everything has to be... All their stores, they like 45 minutes apart. I'm like, we have that, and I don't remember the 3rd one. But they didn't do anything.
This topic has come in. Can Nancy highlight what Scottsville is going to do with the $40,000 grant from the state?
Oh, wait a minute. I might not know about that.
Yeah, Scottsville. Okay, so let me see if I can. The town of Scottsville has received a grant to help people start a business.
Oh, yes,
Northrum.
yes.
Okay.
I don't really have the ins and outs of that, but again, Matt Lawless is getting the grants in, and I hope that this is successful and brings more small business to town.
How do you characterize how Scottsville's doing going into next year? I mean, I hate to even say this, knock on wood here. I'm hoping that we have COVID behind us. Okay, I'm getting and I'm not going to go down the political road of this. I'm getting my booster shot. My wife, myself, and I are getting our booster shots on Monday. Fully vaccinated, and then we're going to do the booster on Monday. Okay? We believe in the science of the vaccine, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, so I'm hoping Albemarle County, as documented by other outlets, is over 85% vaccinated. Folks that are eligible to get vaccinated, 85% plus have been. And there's a correlation, this is science, that COVID is in check in Albemarle because of the vaccinations. I'm not going to make this political. I think that 2022 looks promising. How do you see it?
For Scottsville, If we go into 2022 the way we weathered the pandemic, it's going to be a great year.
Okay. How so? Why so?
We did not lose revenue. Because a lot of people know that we rely very heavily on the meals tax.
Right.
And that did not go down that much. Now, the CARES funds helped, and the monies that the town is receiving from the federal government is helping a lot. That actually was utilized to build out the DMV Select office and get that rolling, but they still haven't even tapped into it. We're talking about $500,000 they're getting, which is, that's such a great present to the town because there's no way we could raise that. So with all of those things in place and council being very judicious with how they're spending that money, I think they're doing well. Plus, with more restaurants coming and hopefully more people coming, wearing their masks, getting vaccinated, because I don't want to get political, but I personally took it as my responsibility.
Same.
To people I love and people I see on a daily basis.
Same. We're same mindset with that. The impact DMV Select has had on Scottsville.
I spoke with Matt this morning about it. Things are progressing. They're getting a lot of business there. And of course, more people coming into the town office area, they become more acclimated with our staff and really what the town is doing on a daily basis.
Paint the picture of the DMV Select office.
So it is now in the space that used to be the council conference room, which was never used. It was
Right.
basically storage.
It was empty.
So it was empty. So they opened it up, and you get off the elevator or walk up the stairs. It's right there. The very, very friendly people are working there, and they're actually part of the office staff. They don't work for the state. They work for the town of Scottsville. And that adds even more to what the town can do as far as greeting the public. So plenty of parking, and that's a big issue in Scottsville, but it's right next to the town lot by Victory Hall. I think it's such a great thing for Scottsville. You can buy your fishing license there and walk across the street and buy a fishing pole.
This is a question from Laura. It's a good question. Does Nancy think that the housing proposed for Birch Street and Blenheim are going to be affordable for us? It's a good question.
That's a good question. And
she follows with a second comment, or is it just going to attract folks that are priced out of Charlottesville and other areas of Albemarle to us?
Okay, so this is sort of my answer. On Bird Street, if they just went with Village Residential, which would give you 13 homes, you cannot build, as you know, Jerry, 13 affordable homes on 20 acres.
No.
Okay, so
the developer, what you're saying is the developer is going to have to increase the cost, make the homes more expensive to recover the sweat equity and the cost of goods and the labor that Dr. Hurt and his company puts into developing the property.
Correct. Now, with the cluster development as part of Village Residential, which you go through the special use permit for, you break it down so more homes, smaller homes, are going to be more affordable, but what is affordable housing? That's the question. Is it, I did not pay that much for my house, but it's a work in progress. It's a 100-year-old house.
You also bought it a while,
a long time ago.
Yeah, not today.
Right. So people are saying $325,000 is affordable. We're, I think, trying to get it below that. I don't know if Hurt and Company can do that. I just don't know the numbers.
I agree with you. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but I don't see, if it's not cluster development, I think these homes are going to be flirting with 400.
Yeah, and
or north.
Right, and a new home in Scottsville, our older homes are going for that price. One of the houses that just sold would go for probably $1 million in Charlottesville, but $495, $500 in Scottsville.
Which location?
Harrison Street.
It's a good spot, though.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
How about Blenheim? Your thoughts on the Blenheim development? Those are going to be more expensive.
I
Larger
just-
lots.
Yes, I just wish and I hope that council steps back and looks at the full 200 acres
Uh-huh.
and really how development at the top part there, Blenheim and Albavana Springs, sorry, how that will affect the downtown area, because the Mink Creek goes right down through the middle of that property, and that is what has flooded the town. Now, we do have the A. Raymond Thacker flood control system in, which is a dam, intake, outtake, the levee, which protects from the river, the dam behind Doug's Maytag, and the pump station protects us from the Mink Creek. So we have to protect that creek. That's my main concern there is,
Is it being considered?
I think it has to be. But right now, because they're taking, I think it's about a 20-acre field and using, 8 acres of it, 9 acres of
Let me
it?
see if I can confirm. I have the Daily Progress article open here. I'll look for that. If you finish your thought.
It's a very small part of that overall parcel. I would like to see the whole plan. The town did the small area plan on the whole Blenheim, that west side of downtown. And they, again, as I mentioned earlier, they have the planned unit development that was done back in 2003, 2004, revisit it. And it's, to me, that up there is so important to keeping downtown safe.
How long till these houses come on market, do you think?
Oh, gosh, it's going to be a few years.
Yeah. So
I mean, there's still, this is step one.
yeah.
And they still have to do all of the site plans, all of the development, and going through Architectural Review Board, going back to the Planning Commission. I mean, this is,
Such a long process.
it's a long
It's
process.
such a long process. So this question's coming in from Steven. Any updates on CenturyLink for us?
No.
Yeah.
Although I did speak with an acquaintance who lives in Howardsville, and he was able to hook up to broadband through CenturyLink, and he's very happy. So the money that the county has spent through grants to CenturyLink is paying off for some residents, but I think for others, the hookup is just so astronomical.
Put in perspective how dire the circumstances are now for some.
In the outlying areas, it's
Yeah.
bad. I mean, it's not just internet, it's also
phone.
cell phone.
Yeah.
So, we want to keep our kids and our businesses at the highest level we can, but broadband lack of is not helping.
Yeah. We had Buckingham Board of Supervisor Thomas Miles on the show about a month ago, and Supervisor Miles of Buckingham County is like doing an aggressive
Yeah.
campaign, really putting in perspective how poor CenturyLink is doing with its commitment to the area, and how like during inclement weather or storms, how the conditions worsen. And we'll see if we can get Supervisor Miles back on the show. He and I are Facebook messaging back and forth about this. I feel. Go ahead.
I spoke with Donna Price, 2 or 3 months ago
On your
now.
podcast, too.
Yes, regarding this. And,
Yeah.
and the county is creating, which made sense, and I forget what it's called, but it's something they're doing that is bringing in more broadband companies, internet providers, and maybe he needs to get with Donna, too.
I will see if I can get Supervisor Price and Supervisor Miles all on the show.
Yeah, and
At
just
one time.
see how can Buckingham and Southern Albemarle work together because we are neighbors.
And speaking of Supervisor Price, you had her on the podcast to discuss the Southern Albemarle Convenience Center.
I did.
We should discuss that. What are some of the highlights of that?
It looks like it's coming. It's going to be in Keene, off Esmont Road, which is off Route 20. It's they're in the design phase now. So what I covered was basically the Planning Commission had to go through the comp plan and the convenience center just to make sure that it was consistent with the comp plan. Board of Supervisors already had said, yes, let's do this pre-pandemic, and they don't have to revisit it. So it looks like it's a go.
More highlights from that interview. I actually listened to that one. She'd worked Supervisor Price in close connection with Supervisor Liz Palmer,
Yes.
which I learned from your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time, right?
Yes.
Would we say that's fair?
Yes.
How long has this been in the works for?
One time.
A long time.
I know they purchased the land, and anybody correct me anytime I say anything that is incorrect, correct me, please. They purchased the property back in the 70s. And back, oh gosh, when were they talking about this? Maybe 10 years ago or less, about putting this convenience center there. And there was so much negativity that they didn't do it.
Right.
And what Donna, as you heard in the podcast, basically said that was because it was just bad marketing. A convenience center is not a transfer station. So big trucks aren't going to be coming in there dumping, multiple trucks of household trash. It's just you and me. Tag a bag, drop it off, recycling. I'm excited more about the recycling than anything. But, a $2 tag a bag,
That's a good
that's
thing.
Especially if you only have one bag of trash
Right.
a week. That's what, $8 versus the $30 we pay private companies to come by.
Seems like a good thing here. This is a comment from Kevin. Before we consider developing on Burr Street and on Blenheim, we should do something with Hertz' other important property, the tire plant.
So that's catch-22.
It's not a zero-sum game either.
No. And the town really can't do anything until the developer comes forward with a plan or an application. I know that there has been some activity on people wanting to buy that, but again,
Really?
yes, but again, the package isn't right for whatever reason. And I don't know what the package is, but you can't say
You can't
you
force
can
somebody
do
to sell.
this, you can do this if you do that.
Right. Not a zero-sum game.
No.
So you agree it's not a good comparison there.
No.
Yeah.
But I would love to have something done with the tire plant.
Yeah, and that comes up every time on the show when we have you on here. It comes up every time. We're all in agreement that something should be done with this important piece of property, but you cannot strong arm him into doing something with it.
Right.
And right now, he doesn't need to do anything with it, and that's his prerogative.
Hmm. Well, he's storing a lot of stuff in there.
Is he?
Uh-huh.
What's he storing in there?
Everything he buys at these auctions.
Oh, it's going there?
My understanding is it goes to multiple places.
I did not know that.
He likes to collect things.
I've heard collecting is a kind way of putting it, is from what I've heard. And that's because Nancy is a kind person right there. All right, let's highlight positivity, especially in downtown Scottsville. What have you seen since the last time you've come on the show? We're heading into a time where maybe downtown's got a little more pep in its step with the holiday season.
Well, I'm going to tell you, remember our conversations on the ABC special banquet event?
Yes.
Scottsville has had two.
Oh, let's talk about that.
And the first one,
Open container.
open container.
Yeah.
And they had one with the Scottsville Center for Arts and the Natural Environment, where they
I heard about this.
Yes, Scan went. They
Yeah.
got art in all of the empty buildings and storefronts, And
It's a huge success.
Very, very successful.
Yeah.
Now, the second one was the Friday before Halloween, and it rained, and there was to be a play, like a radio play at Canal Basin Square, which they subsequently moved to the theater at Victory Hall. They still did the dog parade, because people are going to do a dog parade or a pet parade anyway, but that didn't prove as successful as the first one due to weather.
Yeah, the weather messed it up.
Right. Now on...
Because you get 12 a year.
Yeah, 16.
Oh, is it 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So you guys have done 2.
and the third one will be on December the 4th,
Okay.
where there's just a whole lot of activity going on. It's where the town does the traditional tree lighting.
Sure.
And there's more things going on with art, and I just think that one's going to be a hit.
Diane Polero, hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, Diane.
You guys were the first to do it.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about this when we had Nancy on the show last time. Who was going to be the first to utilize the open container opportunities that kind of presented themselves due to COVID? And open container, the Commonwealth in Richmond, basically allowed jurisdictions 16 times a year, Nancy just corrected me, and she's right, to utilize open container. You can walk around in roped-in area with spirits in your hand, as opposed to being confined to a patio or to a restaurant inside, and use it for event engagement generation, or getting people engaged for events. And they were the first to do it. You guys, props to you guys. So is that lawless?
It is lawless, and it is our arts people and our business owners. And the restaurants, the first day they did it, the Bateau sold out. They ran out of containers. Best day ever since he opened. So I think it has great promise. And
Especially there.
yes, and I don't know why the tavern has not been participating, and I don't know why, but Amici's and...
How hasn't the tavern participated?
I don't know. I'll have to ask Spencer.
This would be perfect for Spencer.
Yeah. It might be because they get really busy, and they would have to pay attention to 2 types of glassware, because, the glass that goes out on the street has to have their logo on it.
Sure.
So it might be just working out logistics.
So people are asking any idea of how much revenue was generated for the town of Scottsville during the first event. And Jack Maxwell, welcome to the show. Thank you for sharing the show, and congratulations on your recently earned and won medal. Very impressive, Jack. Do we know how much revenue was generated?
I don't. We don't.
That would be...
I'm not in that seat anymore that I can't just...
Well, you're a popular lady. Everybody likes you over there.
Yeah, but I can't say how much were revenues on meals tax last month.
How did the brewery do during it?
They did really well.
Yeah, I bet they did.
Yeah, so it's the brewery, Amici's, and the Bateau.
Amazing. So highlight other folks that are doing positive things.
Okay, so the initiative I'm involved with here, Health, Equity, and Access in Rural Regions, tomorrow we're doing Take a Hike Day.
Okay.
2 locations, one in Esmont at Simpson Park, and then one in Scottsville at the Farmers Market, and then we're doing a tie-dye workshop event at the library, which Matt Lawless and his wife will be doing.
Very nice.
So that's tomorrow, 10 to 12. Farmers Market is having their annual holiday shopping opportunity at the Farmers Market from 9 to 1, I think. And
Does it shut down after Christmas?
it does.
Yeah. For how long? It then opens back up in March?
In April. I
In
think it
April.
goes April through October, and then opens
For
maybe
Christmas.
through November, and then opens up for the Thanksgiving. But on the 4th, it'll be the tree lighting at Canal Basin. I don't think they've changed that. With, again, lots of art, lots of really things going on. I wished I had printed out the program for it, just lots of stuff. And a lot of that I owe to Erin Root and her gang with SCAN, really making the arts happen. In fact, on Saturday, they had a donation from a museum here in Charlottesville of this big,
Sculpture.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they installed it, and it's now on the SCAN land, and
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
I love it. Jack says hello, by the way.
Hey, Jack.
He just put it in the feed. He says, "Tell Nancy I said hello." And again, Jack, very impressive what you've accomplished and the recent hardware that you earned. Very impressive. I follow your endeavors on social media. I love when you come on the show. Time flies when you do. 45 minutes in here. What anything else we should highlight? You've done a hell of a job so far.
I think we're good. I mean, when I leave, I'll come up with a bunch of stuff. But no, I think I just think the town's doing great, and people get involved.
How about the podcast?
Oh, the podcast. So
Excuse me.
on Thanksgiving, I will have a very special show with
Ooh.
the sign lady.
The sign lady.
The sign lady who lives in Buckingham, and the sign used to be in Scottsville, but it became too laborious for her because she had to move it every 30 days. That's how we were getting around the sign ordinance. And she basically moved it to Buckingham, and she puts pithy little sayings on it every so often, and she will be talking about Thanksgiving and quotes. And
Where can they listen to the podcast?
can listen to it on Facebook, on the James Exchange Facebook page, on my personal page, it takes you, you click on it, and of course it goes to the Substack where it lives.
Jack says you forgot about the weather.
Jack, I have not forgotten about the weather. Jack and I are going to start doing a weather program called Eye on the Sky, Boots on the Ground.
He loves the weather.
So I want to every morning have him give the weather report.
That's a great idea.
But it's eye on the sky, boots on the ground, Jack. I don't want anything from NOR or anything like that.
That's a great idea.
And I also want to institute one Monday mornings, Minute with the Mayor.
That's a good idea. And how about this final question? We're not seeing you at the brewery anymore, Nancy.
I'll be there tonight.
Okay. She will be there tonight. In the brewery right there. Nancy Gill is A+ People. Janet Pace, thank you for watching the podcast as well. I'm going to, I think I'd like to do, if your schedule can permit, maybe like once a month or at least every other month.
Probably every other month. I'll know what my spring schedule will be looking like after Christmas.
Yeah, it's good. Are you going back to Massachusetts?
I am. I'm really dedicated to this friend of mine, and I've known her since she was 4 days old, and she is 20 years younger than I am.
Okay.
So we spent her first 12 or 13 years together, and I don't know if she's listening. She knows I'm on here. She is a big fan of yours, Jerry, and she basically is, she's in Rockport right now, but they moved out of New York City when the pandemic hit. They just happened to have had a house in Rockport. So big fan, and that's why I'm going back and forth.
Well, they're lucky to have you. I think you're the world of you, as do the viewers and listeners. She is fantastic, and I very much encourage you. I learned so much from the last podcast that she did with Supervisor Price, and the podcasts are very digestible.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the longest one you've done? Was it 27 minutes?
So yes, probably with Ron.
And she transcribes them.
Yes, and I actually have...
That's the most arduous aspect
I
of it,
have
isn't
a
it?
program that does it, but it's because it does, you have to still read it.
You have to read everything. You almost feel like you should just do it yourself.
But you can't. I can't type that fast.
So when you read it, how many words, because we have a similar thing, how many words are you correcting?
A lot.
right?
A lot.
Yeah.
And I take out a lot of ums.
Right.
And tighten up the space.
Why is it? Because it just does not understand our dialects? Is that what it is?
I don't know, or people don't speak as clearly. So the last one I transcribed.
Which program do you use?
Oh gosh, what is it? I don't know. I got it on iTunes, or it's an Apple thing. And it does okay, but still, the only person that I have not had to edit is Dan Gritzko.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because he is a speech maker.
Huh.
And so he speaks
Succinctly and
yes.
clear.
Yes. And he
Well,
doesn't say
That was every time we use ours, we have to edit every
Yeah.
single one.
It's laborious.
Thank you for coming today.
You are welcome.
Seriously, thank you for coming today. Nancy Gill, guys, former mayor of Scottsville and the star of the James Exchange podcast. Scottsville is absolutely lucky to have this lady and stakeholder in the community. On Monday, we're going to welcome Stu Rifkin to the program, and Stu is going to highlight a number of things. He's a business broker. We're going to highlight the Hotcakes in Barracks Road, that's for sale. And we're also going to discuss on Monday a number of businesses that are for sale, including Bounce and Play. So a business broker on the show to discuss what is up for grabs around the area. And he's also a realtor, and he's a restaurant manager, and he's a longtime stakeholder in this community. Stu Rifkin on Monday's program. For Nancy Gill and Judah Wickhauer, I'm Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love Seville Show. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care. Nancy, good job. I love when you come on the show.